Let's let it all out. Let's let it all out. Oh. Hi everyone, my name is Pali and I'm here to share with you everything related to mind, body, spirit, and so much more. So today's topic is about 5 questions you should ask yourself before coming out of the lockdown. I wanted you to use this time to actually reflect and to think about some of the things which you've learned during the lockdown, which you could apply into your life after the lockdown or even right now. So this time during COVID-19 and the lockdown was actually very challenging for myself. We moved just before the lockdown and we had no sofa, no dining table. Everything was in boxes. We had no microwave, we had no cutleries, we didn't have shelves, everything was a mess. And then we got the news that schools were gonna close for home learning. And that almost made me cry because it was a really challenging time and I actually allocated myself some time to unpack. Although the unpacking was supposed to be done in 1 week, it took me 6 weeks to do it. So it was definitely a very difficult time for all of us to be working from home and homeschooling and doing a lot of other things. And I know that I'm not alone in this. But I've also grown and learned a lot during this time, and I'm sure you have too. And what I found was that when I asked myself some of the questions about what I learned, I found that they were actually really beneficial for me. So today I want to share with you some of these coaching questions which you can ask yourself and which can actually help you from coming out of the lockdown stronger and becoming a better version of yourself. Let's get started. So I created a short questionnaire which you can download from the link below, and you can actually complete this questionnaire as I ask you some of these questions. I will stop to pause every time I finish a question and give you an example so that you have the time to complete this. And you can do it together with me while we are doing this video. Let's start with question 1. What are 3 things you've learned about yourself during the lockdown? So this is anything which you've realized about yourself during the lockdown, anything you've learned about yourself in your personal or your work life. For example, what I've realized was that I have this negative chatter, which is like a victim chatter, complaining about things and complaining about how I wish I should have moved after the lockdown and how things are so hard for me. So that was something which I realized about myself during the lockdown, was that I had this huge amount of negative victim chatter going on in my head. Now, what about you? What are some things which you've learned about yourself? Question 2, what are 3 things which worked for you during the lockdown? So these are things maybe which you never tried before, but now during the lockdown you've tried it and it actually worked really well for you. So for example, for myself, what I realized was when I actually planned the schedule for my son, a schedule which involved from 9 o'clock to 9:30, what was going to happen, 9:30, etc. A pretty detailed schedule. I found that that actually worked really well and how to keep a pretty good structure during our day. Now, what about you? What was something which worked for you during the lockdown, which you maybe never tried before? Question 3, what are 3 new learnings you want to apply into your life after the lockdown? So these are anything which you've realized about yourself based on question 1 or 2, and any additional points which you want to apply into your life or you want to implement post-lockdown. So for example, for myself, what I found was that I really benefited from writing a schedule every week. So planning this, what was my day going to look like from Monday to Friday, and writing this down. What about you? What are 3 learnings you could apply into your life right now or post-lockdown? Question 4, what are some things that you took for granted during the lockdown? So these are things which you may have gone, wow, I really, really miss that, or I wish I hadn't taken that for granted. So for example, for myself, I found that I took my son's school and the teachers for granted. And I realized how important they are. And I also found that I took time for granted because I had no time during the lockdown and was so busy that I realized before the lockdown I had taken time for granted. Now, what about for you? What are some things that you realized you had taken for granted during the lockdown? Question 5. Based on what you took for granted, what will you do differently for each? So, for example, for myself, I do want to volunteer a little bit more in school and see if I can help the teachers a little bit more with their teaching as well. And I also realized that I need to plan my schedule every week to the T so that I make precious use of all of my time. What about you? What are some of the things which you will do differently for any of the things which you took for granted? Now, we've come to the end of our video, and I hope that this activity was really useful for you. And I hope that going through some of these questions made you reflect and made you realize on what are the things you would like to do differently and how you could grow from this lockdown and how you could grow from this pandemic to be a stronger and better person. And of course, thank you for your time. Thank you for listening to this video. Do subscribe if you've enjoyed this video below. Do like it if you did enjoy it, and always stay safe, be kind, and I hope to see you soon with more interesting content to share with you. Thank you.